Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Are we headed for a government shutdown at midnight tonight? President Donald Trump accuses the Democrats of risking a shutdown to restore illegal immigrant health care. Hillary Clinton's on the hot seat after her remarks about white men of a certain religion is damaging our country. The former Secretary of State was accused of spreading evil after she made the remarks on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Is Harvard University about to start training electricians and plumbers? President Trump said yesterday that Harvard University has reached a tentative deal with his administration to restore $2.4 billion in frozen federal grants and would include starting a trade school as part of that agreement. And the Trump administration is taking decisive action against the state of Minnesota, accusing its education agencies of violating Title IX by allowing biological males to compete in girls' athletics, with the latest example being a male playing on a girls' softball team. And Congressman William Timmons joins us later in the show to break down what a government shutdown could potentially look like.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
As Congress barrels toward a midnight deadline, the fight over a potential government shutdown is heating up. Republicans say the blame lies squarely with the Democrats. Republicans led by Speaker Mike Johnson, Vice President JD Vance, and President Trump are accusing Senate Democrats of holding up a funding deal because they want taxpayers to fund health care for illegal immigrants, all while our U.S. troops could go without paychecks if the government shuts down. Speaker Mike Johnson and Vice President J.D. Vance says if the government shuts down, it will be on the Democrats.
If the Democrats make the decision to shut the government down, the consequences are on them, and I think it's absolutely tragic.
I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind.
Speaker Johnson sent a memo to House Republicans yesterday called Debunking the Democrat Shutdown Delusion. In it, he says Republicans have already passed a clean, nonpartisan funding bill, a short-term continuing resolution, a CR as they call it, that keeps spending at current levels through November the 21st with no policy riders. In plain English, that means it just keeps the lights on. No new spending, no cuts, just stability. We are going to continue as we are right now. But Democrats, the speaker says, are demanding new policies. They want to negotiate some new things, including reinstating Obamacare subsidies and rolling back Medicaid reforms from President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, here's the kicker. Republicans say that those rollbacks would effectively restore health care access for illegal immigrants using your tax dollars, my tax dollars. President Trump didn't mince words. He said they want illegal aliens to come into our country and get massive health care at the cost of everybody else, and that's the number one reason they want to strike. Vice President J.D. Vance posted on X, Democrats are about to shut down the government because they demand we fund health care for illegal aliens. Speaker Johnson echoed the same warning, saying Schumer wants to reinstate free health care for illegal aliens paid by American taxpayers. Meanwhile, speaking of the Senate Democrat leader, Chuck Schumer, he says Republicans are lying, calling it a big lie. He insists that the continuing resolution Democrats are proposing doesn't open up health care to illegal immigrants and that GOP is just playing politics. So who do you believe? Is it the Speaker of the House? Is it the Vice President? Is it the President? Or is it Chucky Schumer? Republicans say Schumer's proposal would gut key reforms from Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, which tightened Medicaid eligibility to U.S. citizens and lawful residents only, as it should be, cutting off the incentive for states to quietly funnel benefits to illegal immigrants. Now, remember, under Obamacare, states that expanded Medicaid got a 90% federal match. But if a state also uses funds to cover illegal immigrants, that match drops to 80% under President Trump's bill. It's a way of saying if you want to break the rules, you're going to have to pay for it yourself. And here's the real world impact. Without a deal by midnight tonight, troops, federal employees, contractors will go without paychecks. Veterans benefits, Medicare and Social Security will continue, but many government functions will either slow down or shut down temporarily. Democrats are insisting on long-term extensions of Obamacare subsidies, which don't expire until December, holding short-term funding hostage to force broader policy wins. This is not the way you should do things. The Democrats are trying to scare America over the shutdown to try to get the things that the American voter said last year very clearly they do not want. Speaker Johnson argues, and this is a quote, Democrats once claimed shutdowns were dangerous to seniors, veterans, and families. Now they're risking one themselves over health care for illegal aliens. How do you support that? How do you defend that, Chuck Schumer? President Trump, speaking from Marine Corps Base Quantico, yesterday said Democrats have lost touch with reality, adding that no action can survive if it rewards law-breaking over loyalty. I don't know how you make this argument. I don't know how you risk hurting a lot of Americans because you want to provide health care to people in our country illegally. Democrats, for their part, say the Republicans caused the crisis by tying Medicaid reforms to Trump's massive One Big Beautiful Bill, which they call cruel and anti-immigrant. They're branding this the Republican health care crisis. Look, we should never be providing health care to people in our country illegally. You're just encouraging people to come here. But here's what's not in dispute. The clock's ticking. Deadline's midnight tonight. If Congress doesn't act, parts of the government will shut down, and the men and women defending our country could be asked to work without pay temporarily, while lawmakers argue about benefits for people who aren't even citizens. Republicans say their continuing resolution, already passed in the House, bipartisan support there, by the way, is the responsible solution. It funds the government without adding new programs or ideological giveaways. Democrats in the Senate are holding out for policy writers, and that's where we have the stalemate. So what's next? Senate Republicans plan to bring the House bill back to the floor. If Schumer blocks it and no compromise is reached, the shutdown clock hits zero at midnight tonight. And the message from conservatives is very clear. Fund the troops, stop funding illegal aliens. It's a simple message. We'll keep following this story, of course, hour by hour as we approach. Later in today's show, we'll visit with 4th District Congressman William Timmons from the upstate of South Carolina to get his take on it, to find out what does a government shutdown look like. And the question that I think we all have to be asking is, should Congress be fighting to fund Obamacare subsidies and immigrant benefits, or focus on keeping troops paid and the government open? You can have those discussions later. Don't tie them to this. I read something earlier, and I'm going to ask Congressman Timmons about this. During the Biden administration, when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were at the helm, the Congress passed 13 continuing resolutions just like this one. 13 continuing resolutions. We haven't had a full budget passed in, I don't know when, years. And the Democrats suddenly want to say that passing another continuing resolution is bad, and they want to try to add new stuff in here because they didn't get their way back in the spring when the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. This is part of their strategy. They never liked the idea that the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed. They've been seething over that all summer. So now they have this opportunity to try to come back and try to get some things that they lost back during that debate. So you tell me, are you willing for our government to shut down temporarily to avoid having to pay for health care for illegal aliens? Are you willing to take that chance? Are you willing to maybe have some short-term discomfort, not to give in to Chuck E. Schumer and the radical Democrats who are trying to hold the GOP hostage with the threat of a government shutdown? Because, you know, the optics are just not good when the government shuts down, period. People, I don't care where you are, who you are, everybody's going to be affected in some small way. In other cases, in a large way. Here's the thing I've never understood, though. Every federal employee who may go without pay and still have to do their job because they're essential, eventually they're going to get paid. Some are not even going to be working, and they'll still get paid. What's wrong with that picture? Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. You think that after all these years, Hillary Clinton might have learned how to read the room. Last week, though, on MSNBC's Morning Joe, she delivered one of the most divisive and tone-deaf comments we've heard in a while. Something that you'd probably expect from Kamala Harris, not necessarily Hillary Clinton. Especially at a time when our country is still grieving, trying to heal after the assassination of conservative Christian Charlie Kirk, a man whose faith and patriotism inspired millions of Americans. Here's what the former First Lady said.
The idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, it's just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree with you, we were on the right trajectory.
I don't know whose trajectory she's talking about. Let that sink in. Hillary Clinton just singled out white men of a certain religion. And we all know what she's talking about, who she's referring to as the problem with America. At a moment when we're calling for unity, when we're mourning the death of a Christian conservative leader targeted for his beliefs, Hillary Clinton decides to fan the flames of division, suggesting that white Christian men are somehow doing damage to our country. The backlash came pretty quickly. One social media post said, 2 weeks after Charlie Kirk is assassinated, Hillary Clinton reminds everyone that white Christian men are dangerous. These people have no intention of turning down the temperature. Another wrote, this constant drumbeat against white Christian men is dehumanizing and dangerous. And they're right. This kind of rhetoric is reckless, it's hypocritical, and it could be dangerous. Let's be honest. Hillary Clinton has a long history of this kind of elitist contempt. Remember the basket of deplorables? Now, years later, she's still painting millions of Americans, hardworking fathers, veterans, churchgoers, small business owners, pillars of a lot of communities as somehow the villains in her worldview. But here's what she and many others on the left fail to understand. The men and women she's smearing are the ones who built this country. They're the ones who serve in our military, teach in our schools, pay the taxes, raise their families, and worship their God. They're the backbone of the American spirit, not the problem, Hillary. And what's most alarming is that this rhetoric isn't happening in a vacuum. We've seen what happens when the left demonizes a group of people. We've seen the increasing hostility toward Christians, the vandalism of churches, the attacks on pro-life centers, and yes, the targeted assassination of a conservative Christian leader like Charlie Kirk. When influential voices like Hillary Clinton label white Christian men as a danger to democracy, aren't they given the green light to hatred? Aren't they given the okay for this type of violence to continue? Aren't they encouraging some of these young troubled men, like we've seen some of the recent shooters, to carry out further violence? I mean, they're telling unbalanced people, these folks are your enemies. These are the bad guys. And that's not just irresponsible, it's evil. Roger Severino at the Heritage Foundation said it best. He said, quote, "It's beyond tone deaf for Hillary to proclaim that conservative white Christian men are what's wrong with America while the nation mourns the loss of Charlie Kirk." Friends, we can disagree on policy. We can debate ideas. That's democracy. We can talk about government shutdowns. We can talk about what should be funded and what shouldn't be funded, whether or not we provide health care to illegal aliens. But when you start labeling entire groups of people as destructive because of their race, because of their faith or political beliefs, I mean, that's not progress. That's prejudice. That's dangerous. And it's ironic, isn't it? Hillary claims conservatives are trying to turn the clock back. Yet she's the one dragging us back into a world where people are judged not by the content of the character, but by their skin color and religion. White Christian men. Here's the truth. White Christian men and women and people of all faiths, they are not the problem. The problem is a political class like Hillary Clinton, like Barack Obama, like Joe Biden, like Kamala Harris, who have lost touch with the values that make this nation great. Faith, family, freedom, and maybe a little touch of forgiveness. So let's reject this toxic identity politics. Let's remember that Charlie Kirk stood for truth, courage, and love of country, family, his Christian values, raising a family. Many times he said, get married, have more children than you can afford, and go to church. And let's pray for leaders who lift us up and not try to divide us and tear us apart like Hillary Clinton did in these comments. Because America doesn't need blame. We don't need more blame. We need healing. We need humility. We need hope. We need respect for one another. We need to be able to have these discussions, these debates, and then walk out of the room and still understand that, yes, we disagree, but we're still Americans. We still live in the best country in the world. How do we get to that point? How do we get to the point that we don't have the Hillary Clintons saying things like this? Is it possible, or are we just long past that? Love to get your comments. Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line. Always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com, or you can also call 800-893-4059. Take advantage of the classic collection of wholesale prices on pillows. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow, but it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices as well. Queen size pillows, $24.98, $39.98 for a king, but you have to use promo code Joey. Go to mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059. Always use promo code Joey. Here's a question for you. Is Harvard University about to start training electricians and plumbers? It's kind of an unlikely match, isn't it? President Trump said yesterday that that's what's going to happen, that Harvard University has reached a tentative deal with his administration to restore the $2.4 billion in frozen federal grants. Here's the story. America's oldest college will spend about $500 million to launch and operate trade schools, ending this clash over issues including discrimination against Jewish students and the use of race-based affirmative action, according to President Trump yesterday.
Well, we're in the process of getting very close, and Linda's finishing up the final details, and they'd be paying about $500 million, and they'll be operating trade schools. They're going to be teaching people how to do AI and lots of other things, engines, lots of things. We need people in trade schools. I remember when I went to school, I had some people that weren't particularly good students, but they could take a motor or an engine apart blindfolded and put it back blindfolded. But they weren't too good at other things, and many of them ended up doing better than the people that were. So trade schools are very important, and we've lost trade schools. We used to have a lot of trade schools in this country. We don't have them anymore. We have tremendous plants opening, and we want to have people at top level for those plants, whether it's AI or whether it's automotive plants. We have many automobile companies open their plants in the United States. They're all coming back for two reasons: tariffs, and I think they liked November 5th. They liked the person that was chosen, and they're moving in from Canada, they're moving in from Mexico, they're coming in from all over the world. China is coming. They're all coming, and that way they avoid paying tariffs. So, they're coming for that reason. So by opening up trade school, because we're going to need employees, we're going to need people with skill. And I think I can say, Linda, you feel the same way. By opening up trade school, this would be a giant trade school, series of trade schools. It would be run by Harvard.
Wow. Now, that is negotiating. When you can get one of the oldest institutions of higher learning to come around and to start a trade school, that's pretty amazing. Now, yes, there is $2.4 billion at stake here. Even Harvard understands that they have to come to the table. President Trump casually announced this looming resolution during, it was an unrelated event focused on childhood cancer yesterday in the White House. He insisted that Education Secretary Linda McMahon extract $500 million from Harvard after squeezing a $200 million fine out of Columbia University for civil rights violations. The administration had cut off grant money to Harvard, you may recall, as a penalty for doing too little to combat anti-Semitism following the October 7, 2023 attack by Hamas against Israel's subsequent invasion of Gaza by the Jewish state, which of course, anniversary is coming up just next week. The president pointed out that with the opening of more manufacturing coming to the U.S., that we're going to need those skilled tradesmen. We're going to need those types of people to take those jobs. The president said we have tremendous plants opening. We want to have people at top levels for these plants, whether it's AI or whether it's automobile plants. Harvard, for months, stood apart from other colleges by defiantly refusing to bend to the Trump administration's demands. I think they're on board now. On the text line, Faye says, Joey, listening to the talk about New York City possibly electing a communist Muslim as mayor all but brings me to my knees. The young women are behind him. I decided to ask as many young ladies here about Sharia law and communism, and their answers about put me in a sick bed. Faye says they don't have a clue as to what life would be like, and some had never heard the words Sharia law. Lord, do help us all. The Lord saved us from this hurricane, and I pray he will save us from Mom Donnie. We'll see, Faye. Appreciate that. Tony says, Joey, if I was a betting man, I would bet that Republicans will give in and support illegal health care, DEI programs overseas, but I'm not a betting man. Tony, look, it's going to get kind of dicey throughout the day, and I hope the Republicans don't give in. Scott in Toccoa says, good morning, Joey. Did you know the last time we had a proper budget written the way it was intended was in 1995? That's 30 years of continuing resolutions and kicking the can down the road. What time are we going to hold these elected officials accountable? Ever stop to think that this kind of activity is the reason we are in the shape we're in now? Scott, you're exactly right. It's exactly the reason we're in the shape that we're in right now. Keep those text messages coming. Your comments are welcome, too. You can email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. A major development in this nationwide battle over fairness in women's sports. The Trump administration is taking decisive action against the state of Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz, where are you? It's accusing its education agencies of violating Title IX by allowing biological males to compete in girls' athletics. Here's the story. After a 2-month investigation, The U.S. Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services found the Minnesota Department of Education and the Minnesota State High School League in violation of federal law, pointing specifically to a transgender male pitcher who dominated the 2025 high school softball season and led his team to the state championship. Wow. According to the Department of Education finding, the male athlete pitching against girls gave up only one earned run in 35 innings, striking out 27 female batters over 5 straight victories. Officials say it's a clear case of unfair advantage. You think? And they also say that sex discrimination under Title IX is illegal as it is. So here's what the Department of Education's acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, Craig Traynor, said in a statement. Quote, "For too many years, Minnesota's political leadership has been on the wrong side of justice, common sense, and the American people. The Trump administration will not allow Minnesota or any other state to sacrifice the safety, fair treatment, and dignity of its female students to appease radical gender ideology." Now, under President Trump's executive order keeping men out of women's sports, the federal government is now demanding Minnesota change its policies within 10 days. You got 10 days to do this, Governor Walz, or risk losing federal funding and facing Department of Justice enforcement. Here's what the state must do. They must rescind all guidance allowing males to compete in girls' sports, issue a statewide notice requiring biology-based definitions of male and female. It's not that difficult. We know. Restore records and titles taken from female athletes. Good for them. Give these young ladies what they earned. And some boy came along and took away from them. And send letters of apology to the girls whose opportunities were lost. Now, that's not going to take back the experience, but it'll sure help solve the pain, put some salve in that wound, right? Now, if Minnesota refuses, the case will be referred to the Justice Department, which has already filed similar lawsuits against Maine and California. But Minnesota's Democrat Attorney General Keith Ellison says he's not backing down. He's suing the Trump administration, accusing it of overreach, even bragging that he sued them first. He's proud of that fact. Meanwhile, the girls who actually had to compete against this male pitcher, they're speaking out. One of them told Fox News Digital, "It's simply unfair. Boys should not be able to take girl spots on teams. Hitting against him is not only a physical challenge, but a mental one. It's incredibly frustrating. These young ladies, they should be given what they deserve. And this young man, he should be stripped of any titles, anything, any awards that he won while competing with the girls." Another lawsuit filed by 3 female athletes in Minnesota was dismissed earlier this month, leaving many wondering what happened to equal opportunity for girls. I mean, what's the purpose of Title IX? Wasn't Title IX passed to protect young ladies and their sports opportunities? I mean, let's not forget, it was written to protect women, to ensure they had equal access and equal opportunity in sports and education. If you got a young man in there taking that opportunity away, then you have just basically reversed Title IX, have you not? Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. The clock is ticking to fund government, and so far lawmakers are still trying to find a path forward to avert a partial shutdown that could start at midnight. Here's what we know. Democrats want Obamacare subsidy extensions in the CR. Republicans say keep it clean, fund the government, and debate policy in the coming weeks. Congressman William Timmons joins us for an update on where things stand and what to expect. Welcome, Congressman. How are you, sir?
Joey, doing great. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with the proposed continuing resolution. There's been a lot of talk about the fact that this is a clean CR. What does that mean?
So government funding runs out tomorrow, and basically instead of doing our job and passing all the appropriations bills as we're supposed to, we have not done that. And so we have to extend government funding in some way. So a clean CR means that you take the baseline policy, all the different amounts that you were spending previously, and you prorate it. Instead of doing it for a year, you do it for a period of time. So the proposal right now is 7 weeks. That's passed the House. And when it's referred to as clean, it means that we didn't put anything else in it. Because sometimes you can add things in it that become partisan, but we didn't do any of that. It was just a clean CR for 7 weeks. And I think the most important thing is that when Joe Biden was president for 4 years, the Democrats and Republicans voted 13 times for a clean CR. So the Democrats are now using the one piece of leverage they have, which is government funding. We technically need 7 votes in the Senate in order to pass the clean CR to allow the appropriators to do their job to get the next fiscal year in order. And the Democrats are trying to use that leverage to try to extort $1.5 trillion out of the president and out of the House Republicans. So It's just crazy. And if this is their path they want to go down, I will cheer them on, because I think that the pain on the other side of this is far worse, and it's only going to be felt by them.
Yep. Congressman Timmons, if you guys do not come to an agreement before midnight, talk with us about what a government shutdown actually looks like. What can people expect?
So technically, this would be a full government shutdown because we have not passed any of our appropriations. And so in a full government shutdown, every government agency has to deem people either essential or non-essential. So non-essential, they actually have to go home. They cannot work, and they will ultimately get repaid when the government reopens. It's just done retroactively. Now, that is not the case for government contractors. If you are not an employee of the government, if you're a contractor, not only will you not get paid, but you will not get back pay. Now let's look at the essential people. So people that are deemed essential have to work. They are not paid, and basically they will be repaid once the government reopens. This could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months. There is one exception. So we passed a law because we have service members downrange, and the thought of having a deployed soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine or Guardian that is serving us abroad and his family's back home, we created a caveat, a loophole that essentially makes sure they get paid at least one more time. So that's basically what a government shutdown looks like. And I mean, it's going to cause a lot of problems for people that don't have savings. And I mean, it's just unacceptable. These people are working, and they need to keep the government open. And it costs $2 billion a day in lost productivity. So this is just a completely unreasonable path forward.
Yeah. Congressman William Timmons is our guest today. We're talking about a potential shutdown if this continuing resolution is not passed by midnight tomorrow. Now, Congressman, Democrats I understand this is one of the sticking points, are demanding an extension of expiring Obamacare premium subsidies inside the CR. Why should or shouldn't those be handled in a separate debate?
So the Senate leader, Chuck Schumer, he's asking for so many things, it's hard to even pinpoint what he's asking for. He's asking for what is essentially $1.5 trillion in spending changes. He wants to undo a lot of the things that were done in our reconciliation package. He wants to extend additional policies. He wants to make sure that we are able to give health care to illegal immigrants. He wants to undo border security funding. So, I mean, like, it's not just one thing, it's hundreds of things. And to think that he's going to hold us hostage unless we pay him a bribe of $1.5 trillion, he lost his damn mind. Yeah. So I can promise you that we are not going to concede to that. And if he chooses to shut the government down, they're going to have a number of votes on it tonight and tomorrow. So, I mean, the ball's in the Senate's court. And I think it's important to realize we passed a bipartisan bill out of the House to keep the government funded.
Yeah.
All the Republicans minus Massey plus the member from Maine, Jared Golden. So, I mean, the Democrats know what they need to do, and I think a lot of the Senate Democrats want to do it, but they're negotiating with the wrong guy, and at the end of the day, the president is not a sucker.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that the Obamacare subsidies will eventually be extended?
I think that there are some policy considerations surrounding that is worth looking at, because it is going to create hardships in a number of ways. But again, a lot of these things were done during COVID that it was just an excuse. So we got to look at all of these policies, and we have to have thoughtful conversations. But trying to jam it on the American people by leveraging shutting the government down, that's not how you govern. And they have had the benefit for the last 4 years of Republicans participating in this process to make sure that we get the government funded appropriately. And if our work's not done when it's supposed to be done, we do a clean CR, again, 13 times in the last 4 years. So I don't want to hear, I'll get out my violin and play for them as they cry about it, but we're not going to let them engage in this. It's just it's extortion.
Yeah.
And they will not succeed.
Yeah. I mean, they're using the common scare tactics, that Medicare's going to close. You're not going to get your Social Security benefits. I mean, none of that's really going to happen, is it? No. So again, all of that is essential work. The people that are doing it will not be getting paid. Depending on how long it goes, there could be issues trying to, if something happens not because of the shutdown and some sort of a benefit is not received, trying to then troubleshoot it will become more difficult, because some of the people at call centers and whatnot are going to be deemed non-essential. So, yeah, it's going to cause increasing pain as the clock goes on. I think one more thing the Democrats aren't thinking about is that OMB is largely responsible for government funding, and they have a lot of leeway. And there's a lot of people that they want to free to go and pursue their highest and best use outside of government. So I think there's some people that could lose their jobs that should lose their jobs, but OMB has not been able to do that yet. But if we're in a shutdown, what's the judge going to say? You have to pay these people? We don't have money. Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see mass firings occurring, and really, Chuck Schumer is walking into Russ Vought, the director of OMB's, hands by saying, we're going to shut the government down. He's like, oh, really? Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Wow.
And then there's also an issue. The Department of Defense has $150 billion that we gave them in reconciliation, and there's a question as to the fungibility of that money. I won't get into the legal arguments, but long story short, there's a world in which the Secretary of War could continue to pay the entire Defense Department without us appropriating any more money or going into a clean CR. Now, the Senate Democrats are saying that that's not possible, and I think the Secretary is going to look at them and say, I'm going to pay my people. This is money that you've already given me. You didn't do a very good job of explaining exactly what I was supposed to do with it, so we're going to do what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, these are things that we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't have to have these conversations, because the Democrats need to just do what we've done 13 times and fund the government.
Yeah. Well, as we all know, that would be too simple for the Democrats to go along with, for sure. Congressman William Timmons, it's always a pleasure. You got a lot of work to do. We'll be watching.
Joey, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com. And I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at MyPillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.